Hey everyone, it's Ashley here. We have got a awesome new podcast for you called Midwest Madness. Every Tuesday, Emily and Danielle take you through some awesome stories from the Midwest. And being from the Midwest myself, I have to say I truly love it. I miss the Midwest, and these guys give me a nice little feeling of home. So check them out and listen to their promo following this message. Thanks, guys.
Do you like true crime?
How about cryptids?
Maybe a little conspiracy?
Or the occasional cult?
We've got a podcast for you. I'm Emily.
And I'm Danielle, and we're the hosts of Midwest Madness.
We talk about crime, cults, cryptids, and conspiracies in the Midwest. Check us out every Tuesday on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at MW Madness Podcast or on Facebook at Midwest Madness Podcast.
Thank you.
Bye.
This is Histories and Mysteries. I'm your host, Ashley, and this is your other host,
Jessica, and on today's episode, it's our Canadian episode.
Oh, Canada. I only know that because of hockey games. So I'm from Michigan, and we are the Red Wings, and I feel like they play your national anthem and our national anthem, and that's the only reason I know the song, but I don't know the words.
Well, if a Canadian team and an American team are playing, then they sing both. But if it's just like two American teams, then they'll just sing yours. Or if it's just two Canadian teams, they'll just sing ours. Kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's the only reason why I know your national song.
The first few words.
Yeah, I only Canada, and then I'm gone.
That's so funny. I think I know most of yours, but I'm not going to attempt.
Well, you lived here for a while, didn't you?
No, I've never lived in the
US.
US.
I thought you lived here for a minute.
No, I used to have my ex-stepdad's family lived there.
Oh, okay.
So I visited Arizona a couple times.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then my ex was in Texas, so I visited the States a lot, but I've never lived there.
Okay. I've visited Canada 3 times maybe. Once was to Toronto, and then I went a couple times to Sauble Beach because my friend had a house there on the beach that was in her family for generations. So it's a little cabin, and so we would go there. Yeah. But that's the extent of my Canadian travels.
Yeah, my mom and I went to Sauble Beach once. It's very nice.
I love it there. It's so cute. Her and I had a falling out, so we don't hang out anymore, and I miss Anyway, so
girls. Female relationships.
I'm 955% sure she doesn't listen to this, but in the off chance that we ever blow up or something, I would not want to speak ill of her. But yes, we had a falling out, and so we don't hang out anymore, and I miss her beach house, basically.
Just the house. Okay, so on today's episode, Ashley's going to be talking about Robert Pickton, who's from BC, and I'm going to be talking about Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, who Ashley's apparently never heard of, so we'll see.
Yeah, maybe once I hear the story, maybe something will ring a bell, but as far as the names, I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our listeners, and she said that she's I can't believe she's never heard of him. He's the Canadian Ted Bundy.
Oh, okay. Well, and I did see a picture of him because when I was looking up Robert Pickton, there's similar stories, and he was one of them. So I did see his picture, and I was like, oh, he's not like Robert Pickton is straight up what you think of as a serial killer. Yeah, super creepy.
Yeah. Well, and Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka, it was called the Ken and Barbie killers.
So I know I've heard of the Ken and Barbie killers. I don't know if there's an American Ken and Barbie killer that maybe I've heard of.
Okay.
Or if that's the one I've heard of. So when I hear your story, I'll let you know.
Okay. Perfect. And Ashley's story was actually recommended by a listener, one of my friends, Robin, and she did it through our site's contact form.
Yay.
So if you ever want to send in a recommendation, you can do it that way, or you can just straight up email us. But the contact form is very easy, and it sends an email directly to us.
Yeah, so you suggest, we listen. So here you go.
Yes.
Before I start my story, Jessica.
Yes.
Hold on. I gotta scroll down.
Okay.
How does a Canadian hold up their hair?
Oh. How does a Canadian hold up their hair? I don't know, eh?
With mousse. Ha! Do you get it?
I do get it.
Don't worry, I got 4 more of these for later.
Oh, for later. Okay.
Yeah, I figure when the stories get really gruesome, I'll throw in a cheesy joke about Canada.
Perfect. Save a couple for my story.
It's funny too, when I was looking for like cheesy Canadian jokes, there's a lot of like Canada versus America.
Yeah.
But I didn't pick those because I don't want to offend anybody, so we're gonna stick with the stupid ones.
Perfect. I love the stupid
I know,
ones,
they're so stupid. I love them.
Makes me
And then there was some that
happy.
I just didn't get, and I was like, I don't know what that is, so I skipped those. Like there's one that referenced poutine.
Like poutine?
Oh, maybe that's that gravy on the fries, right?
Yeah, with cheese curds.
Yeah, that shit's good.
It's so good.
Maybe it was referencing poutine then.
Yeah, poutine's so yummy. Like, we will occasionally make it at home because we just crave it.
I wonder why it hasn't really caught on in America, because it is really good. But it's definitely a Canadian thing, and it's not really here.
Yes. Yeah, like, I think it came from Quebec, actually.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, and can I ask, since we're on the topic of Canada, what is up with your money? Who came up with Looney and Toonie? What the hell?
I have no idea. And now we have plastic money, so there you go.
Oh, is it like a triangle shape? Do you have a
No,
triangle shaped coin?
No.
Oh, okay. Someone has a triangle shaped coin. But yeah, I remember going to Canada for the first time, and they're like, "Oh, loonies and toonies," and I was like, "What the hell is that? That's not real. I thought they were joking with me."
No, it's real.
It's for real.
It's for real. And we used to have like a really large loonie. It was a silver dollar. I think that's what it was.
Oh yeah, we have silver dollars, which are big. But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
they're
we
not
had
really
one of
like in
those.
circulation much, but they are every once in a while.
Well, I worked at a coffee shop when I was younger, and a guy came through and he's like, "Oh, can I pay with my silver dollars?" And we're like, "Yeah, I guess so." Like, we asked our supervisor, he's like, "Sure, I guess." And then we all just kind of like took them out of the till and we replaced it with our tip money.
Yeah.
So that we could keep the silver dollars instead.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, these are cool. Because I think there was like 8 of them. It was so perfect for all of us working. So.
Oh, that's cool.
And then
I love
it's like,
having the coins for like $1 and $2. It was really convenient.
I know, it stresses me out when I go to the States. I have to have like all this paper.
Yeah. And even your paper money is so pretty. Ours is so boring compared to other countries.
Well, it's not paper anymore.
No.
We have plastic money now.
Like, legit, you don't have any paper. It's all plastic.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Look it up.
I
Canadian money. Yeah, the first one. It kind of looks like our paper ones, but they're like a weird plastic now.
Oh, kind of like a credit card, or not as thick?
No, not as thick. Like, it's very thin. Like, you can still bend it and stuff.
Oh, okay. They're so pretty. Look how colorful they are.
Yeah.
Iceland has really pretty money too. We when we were traveling to Iceland and we got there, we exchanged some money and we were exhausted because the flight was overnight. I mean, we flew from Boston, so it was only like a 4-hour flight, but just like getting to the airport and everything, it was basically all overnight. And we thought it was hilarious. My husband called them ice bucks, and then their coins were ice chips, and we just thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
That's adorable. I love it.
Oh, goodness. All right. So I got my sources.
Finally on to our topics.
Yeah. I got my sources from the Vancouver Sun,
Ooh.
the Toronto Star,
Ooh.
All That's Interesting.
Ooh.
And then I got a couple like different points here and there from like Murderpedia and crime.com and like Canadian Encyclopedia, which there is a website called Canadian Encyclopedia.
See, my whole thing is just from Murderpedia.
Oh.
And somewhere else. My mother helped me with my research this week.
Oh, that's nice of her.
I was having a weird mental health week and my child's going through a growth spurt, so I couldn't really like get her off of me to like research.
Yeah.
She used Toronto Star. But yeah, so anyways. Murderpedia just had so much. So
Yeah.
just, like,
well, I had
it
a
was
hard
so
time
good.
because, and I want to point this out at the beginning here, there was a publicity ban on this case for a really long time. So there's not a lot of
Oh.
information on his crimes. Like, obviously we
Oh.
know like what he did and how he did it, but as far as the specifics, which is what I was trying to find, there's not a ton of information. So
Oh shit.
yeah. All right, so Robert Pickton was born on October 24th, 1949, which the site I was on pointed out that makes him a Scorpio. For all of you
Ew.
following along. Did you use
My
Scorpios?
husband's a Scorpio. And
I
I'm
am
mad
also
at
a
him right now.
Scorpio.
I'm not mad at him. I'm just really annoyed with him right now. So
You want me to take that out?
no.
Okay. Well, I am also a Scorpio, Kyle, so she can just fuck off.
When's your birthday?
November 15th.
Oh, his is the 19th.
I think we've talked about this a couple times.
More than likely. We just suck because we have mom brain now.
Right? What is your astrological sign?
I'm a Virgo.
Oh, I don't know anything about them.
Well, if you know me, you know about Virgos. I'm like a Virgo to a T.
I am not like a Scorpio at all. The only way I'm like a Scorpio is that I am very emotional and sensitive. Other than that, like I am not sexy. I'm not like
You're not like aggressive or anything.
No,
or...
I'm not aggressive. I'm not like volatile. I'm usually pretty like even keeled, laid back, chill. I have on occasions been called a doormat, so
Lovely.
not a Scorpio, but I'm still
Yeah, no.
proudful of my people.
I am very much a Virgo. So.
Yeah, so he was a Scorpio. And
Ew.
there's not a
Sorry.
there's not a lot of serial killers that are Scorpios, surprisingly, but he is.
See, I know there's like a ton of Virgo serial killers.
Well, y'all are crazy then.
We're very organized and analytical.
Oh, that is you. You are very organized.
Yeah.
She'll have her research done like 12 days in advance, and she'll be like, "Hey, how long is your story?" And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't even started it yet." And it'll be the day.
Okay,
off.
that was before. I am now getting my research done like 2 days in advance, so I am not as good anymore.
Well, you got a kid now, so
yeah, and she doesn't leave me alone, which is fine. I love her to bits, but like, get off of me for 2 seconds.
Give me a minute, child.
Let me breathe.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so Robert was an odd child, according to neighborhood gossip. He would sometimes crawl into hog carcasses to hide from people, like when he didn't,
Ew.
want them to find him. So
like Star Wars.
yeah, picture Star Wars, except that he didn't need to survive.
What a creepy kid.
Yeah, he also had really poor hygiene and smelled, which probably didn't help crawling into the hog carcasses.
I was gonna say.
Yeah. So he didn't have a ton of friends. He was also required to work on the family farm for most of his free time. Like you went to school, you worked, went to school, came home, worked on the weekends. He was always in the farm. And this wasn't just a regular farm, it was a slaughter farm. So young Robert was around death nearly every day of his life.
Okay.
This next story is really sad. So he had a pet calf that he loved and took care of every day. He even said that he wanted to sleep with it like a puppy, like he wanted to cuddle up to it.
Oh, I thought okay.
Yeah, no, not the creepy sleeping with.
Okay.
One day he came home from school and he was looking for his calf, but like he couldn't find it anywhere. And I don't know why his
Aw.
family didn't just say something, but instead they're like, "Oh, you should go check the barn."
Oh.
Yeah, and he knew what that meant because that's where the animals went. And he even said that he was like talking to his calf, like, you know how you talk to, like I talk to my dogs and my cats.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Don't you ever go by the barn because the animals don't come back from there."
Aw.
And so as he went to the barn, he looked around and he found his calf butchered upside down and cleaned out.
Aw.
I know.
Why would they do that to a baby?
Well, it's veal. It's gross. But they said that he was so mad he refused to speak to his family for 4 days. And they offered to buy him another one with the money they made from the meat that they got from his pet. But he didn't want another one. He said, "I wanted
why
that
would
one."
you? Why?
I know.
Here, let us buy you another pet so you can just get emotionally attached yet again and then have your dreams crushed.
Exactly.
Just traumatize you.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So-
sad that they would offer to do it all over again.
Well, and I wonder if they didn't realize how attached he was, and then they were like, "Well, we'll get you another one," and he was like, "No, I don't want
Mhm.
another one." But an older Robert, reflecting on the death of his beloved pet, said, "I finally realized that we're not here forever. We're here for the time we're here for, period." So this whole situation really kind of changed his view on life. Another tragic incident from his childhood, not really tragic for him, but like tragic in general, and kind of showed him that human life didn't really mean a lot, was his brother Dave had just gotten his driver's license. So he's really excited. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go drive," when you get your first little taste of freedom and you're super excited. And so they let him drive his dad's 1960s red truck. And he was driving down the road, and not much is known about exactly what happened, but he hit someone. He hit 14-year-old Tim Barrett, who was walking home on the side of the road, and hit him just like straight on. So I don't know if
Aw.
he purposely hit him or he just was like looking down and hit him, or
Distracted, right?
yeah, exactly, who knows. But he was terrified, and so he ran home to tell his mom what happened instead of calling the police. And his mother also, instead of calling the police, went back out to where the kid was and threw him into the swamp on the other side of the road.
What?
Yeah. So obviously, the night went by, the next day came, the family was looking for Tim, and so they called the police. And the police were out looking for him, and they found his shoe on the side of the road. So they kind of looked around that area, and sure enough, they found his body. Come to find out, he did not die from being hit. He died from drowning. So he was still alive when Robert's mother pushed him into the swamp.
No.
Yeah. So there was really very little evidence of what happened. And I don't know why this more didn't happen from this, because they had his body. Obviously they had Dave had taken the truck into a mechanic to get fixed, so they had that evidence. But for
I was just about to ask how they knew it was him.
Yeah, and I don't know why not more came. And maybe so all we know is that they did take Dave to juvenile court. I don't know if he was sentenced to anything. His records were sealed, so we don't really know, and nothing came to the mom. So no idea what happened there.
That's horrible.
I know. So here's this kid that's growing up, seeing death every day. Something he was emotionally attached to was murdered. His mom basically murdered a little boy, and this is the atmosphere that he grew up in.
Yeah.
So he eventually dropped out of high school about halfway through, and flash forward to his late 20s, his dad passed away, and then a couple years later his mom passed away as well. So at this time he decided to take a trip to the US to visit some of I guess he had pen pals, and so he decided to visit some of the pen pals. So he took a trip around the US, culminating in a trip to Pontiac, Michigan, which is a teeny tiny little town in northern Michigan. I have some family there, interestingly
Nice.
enough. And he spent about 5 weeks there with his then girlfriend, Connie Anderson, who he proposed to while there.
Ooh.
But he eventually had to go back to Canada to help run the farm with his brother Dave. And Connie was supposed to follow him up there, but she never did. And he never went back down. And so they just kind of broke up.
Okay, but like nothing happened to her.
Nope, she was fine. Thankfully, she wasn't really one of his type of victims that he liked. So, but had she gone up there, who knows what would have happened to her.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, like I said, David and his brother Robert, or Robert and his brother David, I guess I should say, because we're talking about Robert, were running the farm, and they decided to sell off some of their land and to make some money off of it. And they actually made like millions of dollars from selling off their land. So they made quite a bit of money.
Good.
Yeah. And during this time, Robert and his brother started throwing these wild raves at their farm in one of the buildings that they owned. There would be sex workers there, tons of guests, sometimes up to 2,000 people at these parties. And they would charge a cover and then use that money to throw the next party. And so, not to get in trouble by the police, they decided to open a charity called the Piggy Palace Good Time Society, where it was said that they would throw parties to raise money for charity groups, but they weren't really raising money. It was like a front for them to be able to throw parties without getting in trouble, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 1997, Robert had his first run-in with the law. A lady by the name of Wendy Eistetter had visited the farm when Robert decided to handcuff her and stab her multiple times.
Oh, that escalated.
Yeah. Somehow she got away. She got his weapon and stabbed him back and ran off. Yeah, go her.
Good girl.
What a tough bitch. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
He was brought to the police, but then he was later released. Nothing really came of that because police believed that since she was a drug addict and a sex worker, her testimony wouldn't stand up in court. So they were kind of like, meh, oh well. Even though they were both at the same hospital, the victim and Robert, because he was obviously stabbed too. So they were at the same hospital, and the nurses had to go to Robert, dig through his pockets to get the key to the handcuff that he had put on Wendy.
Oh my God.
So it's like cut and dry case, but they still didn't go after it.
Oh, I was going to say this is back in the 70s, but this is the 90s.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And one good thing did come out of this, though, is that one of Robert's workers on the farm, Bill Hiscox, I think is what it is, Hiscox, so Hiscox.
Yeah.
Started to notice that most of the women who came to the farm would disappear. So he started kind of paying more attention to this. He finally reported this to the police, but it wasn't until 2002 when they finally decided to search the farm. While searching, they found DNA evidence of 26 missing women.
Wow.
Robert is Canada's worst serial killer in history, and no one knew about him for almost 2 decades.
That's insane.
Yeah. So on February 6, 2002, police execute a search warrant, and their search warrant was originally for illegal firearms. And they did find some, and they had Dave and Robert arrested. Dave was free to go after that. And then they executed a second warrant because once they were on there looking for the firearms, they found evidence of women, like missing items or items from missing women. So they got a second warrant to look more closely and look for those type of things.
Wow.
So on February 22nd, Robert was arrested on 2 counts of first-degree murder. They found remains of Serena Abbotsway and Mona Wilson.
So why do they think it was just him and not his brother?
You know, I'm not sure. They didn't really talk about that. But I think because of the first lady that was stabbed and the the farm hand that talked about it, Bill, I think they had a pretty good idea that it was mostly Dave, or all Dave.
Yeah. Or Robert?
Sorry, Robert.
Okay.
Yes, Robert.
I'm like, David's his brother.
Yeah, Dave is the brother. All right, so April 2nd, 3 more murder charges were put on him by the murder of Jacqueline McDaniel, Diane Rock, and Heather Bottomley. On April 9th, Andrea Josbury and Brenda Wolfe were added to his charges. On September 20th, Georgina Poppin, Patricia Johnson, Helen Hallmark, and Jennifer Furinger were added to his charges.
That's my birthday.
Oh,
That's
no.
a sad day.
On October
Aw.
3rd, Heather Chimnock, Tanya Holick, Sherry Irving, and Inga Hall were added to his charges. On May 26, 2005, 12 more women were added to his charges. Kara
Holy crap.
Ellis, Andrea Borehaven, Deborah Lynn Jones, Marnie Frey, Tiffany Drew, Carrie Koski, Sarah DeVries, Cynthia Filks, Angela Jardine, Wendy Crawford, Diana Melnick, and a Jane Doe who they couldn't identify.
Ugh.
So at this point, he was charged with 27 counts of murder.
Good.
They had a really hard time trying to get evidence against him because one of the few things that we do know about how he committed these crimes is once he murdered these women, he would feed them to his pigs, which
Yeah.
is what he's famously known for.
Yeah.
He would also grind up some of them into his pork and sell it to people. So once they found that out, the area health organization had to administer an alert to everyone around there that may have bought pork from him that they may have eaten human meat.
Ew.
This
Ew,
investigation
Ew.
cost $70 million. Yeah.
Wow.
Let's insert a Canadian joke.
Yeah. Oh, that was. Bleh.
Okay, Jessica, what
Okay,
do Canadians get on their tests?
What do Canadians get on their tests? I don't know. What?
A's? Like EH? A's?
Yeah, I understood. You didn't have to explain it, you weirdo. You didn't
Okay,
even
back
like-
to horrible pig farming.
Ugh, okay. A.
Eggs. All right, so prosecutors believed that he lured sex workers with drugs and money. He would have sex with them, and then he would murder them by handcuffing and strangling them. I saw reports that he would also shoot them up with antifreeze sometimes. And then they also found a revolver in his home that had a dildo attached to it that they believe he used as a makeshift silencer.
Ew.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with dildos, just ew.
Yeah, that they use it as a makeshift silencer.
Yeah.
They actually found Serena Abbott's Way's head, hands, and feet in a bucket, which he placed in a freezer. Where he also left parts of Andrea Josbury's body, including her severed head.
No.
Yeah.
I hate heads.
Yes.
Like, just severed head. Like,
Ugh. Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously anything severed is just nasty, but like,
Right. But heads especially get to you.
yeah, like just like chilling there, and just hello, I'm a head.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
attached to a body, but here I am.
Yeah.
It's just mortifying. I couldn't even.
I
Ugh.
can't even.
I can't even. Ugh. Yuck. I'm gonna have some more wine.
Do it. Okay, last thing on the parts. He disposed of other parts, such as the jawbone of Marnie Frey and Brenda Wolfe, and the head and hands of Mona Wilson in dustbins, manure, and pig pens. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yuck.
obviously he pleaded not guilty because,
The
you
door.
know, obviously.
Obviously.
And I don't know what this is, Jessica. Maybe you know what this is. And I'm going to say it wrong because it's a French word. The voir dire phase took almost a year. Voirdire.
Voir dire. No, I have no idea.
Okay.
VOIR.
Yep. Space
Yeah.
DIRE.
Okay. And let's get a little line here. Is the process by which attorneys select or perhaps more appropriately reject certain jurors to hear a case.
Oh.
In
America, we call it the jury selection because we're not fancy.
A separate hearing in which the trier of law determines whether evidence is admissible and could potentially be entered into evidence in the trial. A preliminary examination to determine the competency of a witness or juror. There's a few different ways that is a word.
Okay. Well, you guys is fancy over there. We just call it jury selection. So.
I've never heard it as voir dire, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, fancy.
I think that, like, we do have, like, the jury selection, but this is, like, probably in special cases.
Yeah.
And
maybe a little bit more in depth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, especially because it was probably, like, a very well-known case, right?
Yeah, with a lot of victims.
Exactly. So I think that they would have to be more selective in that case and have a bit more of an intensive jury selection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's just my guess.
Yeah. So one of the things about the jury selection that we're, now that we're talking about it is there was a lady there who decided that he was innocent before she even heard any evidence, who was on the jury. She's like, I know he's innocent, blah, 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 blah. And she said that she said that and someone brought it up to the judge and the judge asked her, he's like, did you say that? And she's like, oh, no. He didn't kick her off the jury. So that could be, grounds for an appeal.
Yeah.
But anyway, on March 2nd, one count of murder was rejected by Justice James Williams for lack of evidence. So he was charged with 26 counts of murder. On August 9th, Justice Williams split the case into two groups. One is 6 counts of murder and another one was 20 counts of murder. So 6 counts were tried, and the other 20 could have been heard in a separate trial, but they were stayed on August 4th, 2010. So
why?
He said there was, again, because there was a published ban on this, you can't read like his full decision, but one of the reporters said that basically what they heard and kind of what it boiled down to was that he thought that 26 counts would put an unreasonable burden on the jury because that trial could last up to 2 years. So basically it was too many and the jury would have to be there for too long of a time.
That's awful. Yeah. Okay.
So on January 22nd, 2007, the trial begins for the murders of Faye, Abbotsway, Papin, Joesbury, Wolf, and Wilson, which, if I was the family member of one of the other 20 murders, I'd be kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And again, there's not a lot of information on his trial because of the non-publishing ban. But in the end, he was found not guilty of first-degree murder, but guilty of second-degree murder.
Ugh.
Yeah. And apparently the jury asked the judge, are we able to say he's guilty if we infer the accused acted indirectly? And I looked everywhere to figure out what they meant by that, like what their thoughts were, why they thought it was indirect, and I could not find it. So if anybody knows, let me know.
Yeah.
So he was sentenced to life with no possibility of parole for 25 years, which is the maximum punishment for second-degree murder in Canada.
Okay.
Which I think is not long enough, Canada. What are you doing?
No. But we don't let our people out all willy-nilly like the U.S.
Well, you don't have long sentences.
4 years. They served 4 years, and they've been really good. But I mean, they were terrible for 50 plus years out of their life. But they were really good
in prison. Yeah,
they were really good in prison for 2 years. So we're gonna let them out early.
Bye. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Don't come at my country woman.
Oh, I'm coming at it with my crazy jokes.
Perfect. You have to save those.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, so on January 7th, 2008, the
Yeah,
Attorney
it's my
General.
mom's birthday.
Oh.
Sorry. That's how birthdays, apparently.
Birthdays. This surprised me. The Attorney General actually, so the prosecution filed an appeal in the British Columbia Court of Appeals against Pickton's acquittal on the first-degree charges. So they're like, oh, they said not guilty on first degree. We want to get him on first degree, even though it would have been the same sentence.
Yeah.
And the reason was that the judge split the murder trial. So like the 6 and the 20, he split that up, and that was the reason why they wanted to appeal.
Did they say why they how they picked the 6?
It just said like they were materially similar.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
and obviously relatives were concerned when they found out that the Attorney General was appealing, because they thought that it, the whole conviction could be overturned and he could be a free man, right?
Uh-huh.
The prosecution said that they did that in case the defense filed an appeal, because my microphone. In case the defense filed an appeal, because if it was allowed, there would be a new trial. And the new trial prosecution would want to go for the 26 counts of first-degree murder. So they had to file their appeal first to be able to allow the 26 counts instead of the 6 and 20.
Okay.
2 days after that, the defense did file an appeal as well.
Mm-hmm.
So on June 25th, 2009, the Court of Appeals dismissed the defense appeal by a 2-1 majority. So they're like, nah, you can't appeal. Bye. But they did allow the prosecution appeal, but the order was stayed so that the conviction on 6 counts would not be undone. So like, they're like, the defense can't appeal, the prosecution can appeal, but the prosecution's like, well, we don't need to now. So,
Okay.
and like I said, on July 30th, 2010, the defense was denied seeing the Supreme Court.
Perfect.
Yeah. So he was in prison. There was no more appeals. He's done. Now, they did at one point during the whole trial put an undercover cop in the cell with him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually find his transcripts and read all of them. It's like 90 some pages, so I did not read them all. But Robert confessed to this cellmate of his, who was the undercover cop, that he told him about how he murdered those women, and he said that he murdered 49 women, and he was upset that he couldn't get to an even 50.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then once
psychopath.
the cop left the cell, Robert then masturbated to the recalling of his murders.
Ew.
Yeah. So Robert Pickton is 71 years old. He is still in jail, and he will never see the light of day again.
Good. Ugh.
Yeah.
What a creepo.
Jessica.
What?
I don't believe Canada is real. I think it's
okay.
all maple leaf.
You're such a loser. I mean, I love you, but
I got 2 more for your story.
Fantastic. I hope this goes well.
All right, tell me about Barbie and Ken. Dude, I played with Barbie up until an unreasonably old age. I freaking loved Barbie. Barbie
was dope.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I left my Barbie dream house too close to the space. Not what's the thing called on the wall and it produces heat?
Radiator? Nope, that's a car. Oh wait, no, there is a Jessica, Every
you just
episode,
gonna-
we look
are you-
dumber and dumber.
No, I look dumber. I want to base heater.
There is space heaters. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's like a metal like rectangle attached to the wall or something.
Yeah, it's the yeah, it is a radiator,
Okay.
right?
Anyways, that I don't know, man.
Yeah, radiator. I was right. Look at me. I'm not as dumb as I think I am.
I'm just the dumb shit over here. It's fine. Anyway, so I left my Barbie too close to it and its hair caught on fire.
Oh, geez.
Like the hair singed. I wasn't there for the fire. I just came back and her hair was burnt.
Oh gosh.
I think it was my Rapunzel doll.
I had a Rapunzel one too.
Yeah.
She was my
so
favorite.
her hair was singed. It was funny.
Oh, poor Rapunzel Barbie.
And I also in that same house, I fell off my bunk bed. Well, I didn't fall off, and I walked off it by accident. Because, okay, my mother put me to bed on the bottom bunk, and I was really pissed off because I wanted to sleep on the top bunk. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go sleep on the top bunk. F this. Like, I'm a defiant little shit. Let's do this. And so I slept up there, and in the morning I forgot, I guess, that I slept up there. So I swung my legs over and I just walked off.
Oh my goodness. Speaking of doing things that your parents say you can't, my dad had reminded me of this yesterday. And I forgot about it. And it's so funny because I remember it now. And like, I remember what I thought at the time and now looking back. So I had gone to a friend's birthday party and there was this guy there. And I don't even know why he was there. I was 16 at the time and he was like 21. And we were like talking and stuff. And he wanted to go to like the school dance with me, whatever it was, like homecoming or whatever, prom. I don't know.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, absolutely not. Like, he's 21. What does he want with a 16-year-old? And I remember at the time, I could not understand why my dad would not let me go with this kid or this guy. And now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, what a creeper. Thank God my dad. I could have been like murdered and raped. Like, thank God my dad
I
said
know.
no.
I know, I was 16 talking to a 25-year-old, and I was so mad at my mom that she told me I couldn't talk to him because I'm like, he's so nice. Like, how can you say no to that? And then I'm just like, yeah. I ended up dating him like 10 years later, but
Wow.
it was very short-lived, and then he ended up being a butthead, so.
Okay, I was going to say, it wasn't Kyle Woods. Like, so I'm about to say something mean.
No.
Okay.
No.
That guy was a real creep.
Yes. Yes.
Because can you think about, like, when you were 21 or even 25 for that matter, looking at a 16-year-old and being like, ah, yeah. Like, that's so creepy.
I know. I mean, I didn't look like I was 16, but yes, I understand.
Yeah. I mean, most, you know, especially the kids now, the girls nowadays, oh my gosh, they are gorgeous.
Wow. They are gorgeous. It's like, dang, we all looked like twimps back then.
I know. I'm so glad I didn't grow up now. They have it so much harder than we did.
So much worse. Oh my goodness. I know.
Especially with social media. Oh my gosh. I know we're getting like way off topic, but
way off topic.
One of my friends has a 13-year-old daughter. My friend is my age. She had her when she was younger. She's the sweetest little girl. She's just the sweetest thing. She's such a good kid. But she just turned 13. She had a birthday party and she had some of her little friends over and they were having birthday cake. And a couple of them wouldn't have any cake because they were on a diet at 13. Ew. And apparently the cool new thing is like they don't eat lunch like at all. They just don't, like at school, they don't eat lunch because that's like the cool thing to do because they're like dieting and skinny and whatever.
I hate
at
it.
13.
I feel so bad for my little girl.
Yeah, that makes me so sad. And Cody and I were like, thank God we had a little boy.
I mean, it's not easy for them either. There's such like bad body standards for guys too,
yeah.
But...
I mean, we have our own, you know, set of hurdles that we have to help him with.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure that he knows exactly what consent is.
Good.
Anyway,
okay.
Your story. Barbie and Ken.
Yes. Okay. So Paul Bernardo or Pauly B.
Ooh, sounds like a
Wink,
rapper.
wink. I know. Okay, and I don't think I've ever done an alive person. Oh. I don't know why I just said an alive person when I meant a living person, but
I got what you're saying.
That's
crazy. Really? You've never done a living person?
I don't think so. So this is weird for me. And I'm like worried that he's gonna like come at me, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a living person.
Okay.
It's
Well,
not my
maybe Polly
brand.
B will hear this and he'll come at you and be like, Jessica, that's not right. That's not what happened. Polly
Well, it's
B's here to
not.
tell you.
Please don't, Polly B.
Reminds me of Marky Mark.
Okay. So he was born on August 27th, 1964 in Toronto, Ontario. He is best known for the crimes he committed with his wife, Carla Homolka, in the city of Scarborough, which is just outside of Toronto. Paul was born into a wealthy family, and his parents had married 4 years prior to him being born. Like his father before him, Kenneth Bernardo was said to be abusive to his wife and, like, I think his children too. But and Paul's mother, Marilyn, had 2 children before she had him, and she eventually actually had an affair, which resulted in Paul being conceived.
Oh, okay.
Despite this, Kenneth stood for the affair, and he's actually listed as Paul's biological father on his birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. In 1975, Paul's father had molested a young female, and he was charged for that act. And he also sexually assaulted his daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is Paul's father doing this stuff.
Yeah. I truly think that if your child ends up murdering people and you were abusive, you should also have some kind of, like, obviously abuse is a crime, so you're going to get in trouble for that, but, like, some kind of claim in the crimes that they commit if you're that abusive to them.
Right? I just feel so bad. Like, ugh. But I mean, this is like very directly related to what Paul does in the future. So
Yeah. Well, when you see stuff like that.
Yeah. So Paul's mom actually became like very withdrawn due to all of this, and she lived in the basement of their home. So she just kind of became a recluse at that point.
Okay.
Due to being so young during all this, Paul actually appeared not to be affected by what was going on around him. But considering what he does later on in life, I can't imagine that's very true. In a book, Paul is described by the author as being always happy, a young boy who smiled a lot. He was so cute with his dimpled good looks and sweet smile that many of the mothers just wanted to pinch him on the cheek whenever they saw him.
Aww.
He was the perfect child they all wanted. He was polite, well-mannered, doing well in school, and so sweet in his Boy Scout uniform. So, just playing on the whole, he's very charming and suave even when he was a kid, right?
Gotcha. Yes.
So at the age of 16, Paul's mother told Paul of his parentage. So basically told him, like, hey, your dad's not your real dad. I had an affair. And Paul was very openly repulsed at this and at his mother, so he called her a slob and a whore any chance he got.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like he became like volatile towards his mother. Like he hated her and thought that she was just disgusting for doing that.
Wow.
Paul graduated from Sir Wilfrid Laurier University, and by the time he attended the University of Toronto Scarborough, he had deep and dark sexual fantasies.
Ooh.
Yeah, so he actually like really enjoyed humiliating women in public, and he also enjoyed beating up the women that he dated.
Oh, that's not good.
No, so he's just starting out real bad.
Mm-hmm.
But he was very suave and handsome and charming, so he could get away with it.
Yeah.
In October of 1987, Paul met Carla Homolka, and immediately they were sexually interested in one another. Carla also supported his sexual behaviors, even encouraging him as a Scarborough rapist.
Oh.
Yeah, so
it's crazy to me how two people like that can find each other because they're so rare, and then the fact that they find each other, that's insane.
Right? It's just like, especially in like such a big place as Toronto.
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage that? So, this is about the sexual assaults that he committed, earning him the Scarborough rapist name. And this article, this Murderpedia article that I was reading was phenomenal, and they laid everything out in the perfect timeline.
Oh, okay.
So it was wonderful. So like I said, he kind of committed a myriad of sexual offenses, which continue to escalate around Scarborough, Ontario.
Okay.
And most of these sexual acts occurred on young females that he had previously stalked.
Don't like that.
No, not at all. So on May 4th, 1987, he committed his first rape against a 21-year-old female right in front of her parents' home.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like, just, it was obviously at nighttime, but it's like, that is so public still, like, right in front of her parents' home where they could hear, like, if something
Well, and
happened.
you just, like, once you get there, you feel so, like, safe, you know? You're like,
Yeah.
that's your safe area, and to violate that, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. So on May 14th, so 10 days later, he committed his second rape, this time on a 19-year-old woman in the backyard of her parents' home.
Oh my god, he was ballsy.
Yes, very ballsy, unfortunately. July 27th, he attempted a third rape, but the girl thankfully fought back, so he fled the scene after he beat her.
But good for her.
Exactly. December 16th, he successfully committed his third rape, which unfortunately was against a 15-year-old girl.
Oh.
This rape lasted an hour, whereas the others had been around half an hour.
Oh my god, that's still so long.
Yeah, it's terrible. The day after this attack, the Toronto Police Service issued a warning to women who traveled alone, especially at night, and especially on the bus or like public transport.
Mm-hmm.
On December 23rd, Paul committed his fourth rape. It was during this attack he used his knife to rape a 17-year-old, and where he also started being called the Scarborough Rapist. It's just horrible, like being raped and then like the knife too. Like it's just so scary.
I can't even imagine.
April 18th, 1988, he attacked a 17-year-old, and this was his fifth rape.
Oh my gosh.
May 25th, he was almost caught by a Metro Toronto investigator. This investigator was stalking out the bus stop because women riding the buses at night were warned not to travel alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this Metro officer noticed Paul hiding under a tree, so he pursued him. But unfortunately, Paul got away.
Oh gosh, think of how many lives he could have saved.
Yeah, he was so close.
Yeah.
May 30th, Paul committed a sixth rape in Clarkson, Ontario, and this was against an 18-year-old. October 4th, he attempted a seventh rape, but his victim fought him off, scratching him in the process, I believe.
Okay.
And she unfortunately received some stab wounds, though.
Were they able to get DNA from her fingernail?
This was not the one, so I'm gonna say no. Because this was not the one where she scratched him.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Psych.
November 16th, he committed his seventh rape against an 18-year-old in her parents' backyard. November 17th, the Metro Police finally made a task force specifically for capturing the Scarborough rapist and putting him behind bars once and for all. December 27th, Paul had attempted an eighth rape, but he was chased off by a neighbor. June 20th, 1989, Paul attempted yet another rape, but his victim fought back and alerted her neighbors by screaming. She scratched Paul in the face. And it was not mentioned whether they got DNA out of her nails or not. But I'm assuming they got a bunch of DNA from like all the other victims, right? Because they have the sexual assault kits that need to be done after someone's raped, and so they get DNA that way. August 15th, Paul committed his eighth rape. This time it was against a 22-year-old. This victim he had stalked, and he had waited for her to arrive back home. So when he finally attacked her, it lasted for 2 hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like that would just feel like forever.
Oh god, yeah, it would.
November 21st, he committed his 9th rape against a 15-year-old who he saw at a bus stop. Sorry, my child is screaming.
So is mine.
Oh, okay. You ready, girlfriend? Okay. So November 21st, he committed his 9th rape against a 15-year-old who he saw at a bus stop. December 22nd, he committed a 10th rape, and this one was against a 19-year-old. This happened in an underground parking lot.
Yeah.
Can you hear her?
Yeah.
Oh. Chugging away. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Good girl. May 26th, 1990, Paul committed his 11th rape. This was very unfortunate, but an important attack. His victim was able to vividly remember her attacker's details, and was able to provide those details for a composite sketch of Paul, which was released 2 days later to the public.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So July 1990, Paul was interviewed by 2 police detectives after it was called in that he fit the Scarborough rapist description. Prior to this, the police had over 130 suspects and DNA samples that they had sent away for testing. One of the people that called Paul in was the sister to one of his closest friends. She said that he had previously been called in for an interview for a previous rape, but he hadn't been interviewed at that time and he was just let go.
Oh, wow.
So the police spoke to this caller, who was Alex Smirnes, and during the interview, Alex was very awkward and spoke strangely. The interview prompted them to follow up and interview Paul. And Paul was very calm, cool, and he was very cognitive and able to be released the next day.
Oh, jeez.
Of course. After this close call, Bernardo had a meeting with Homolka to dispel her of the idea that he was the rapist. When Paul moved from Scarborough, the sex assaults stopped.
Oh, surprise.
Surprise, surprise. The assaults began again not long after they moved to St. Catharines.
Of course.
And this started with a 14-year-old victim.
No, baby.
Yeah. Homolka, so Carla, then befriended a 15-year-old Jane Doe and proceeded to serve her laced alcohol until she passed out.
Oh, jeez.
Then proceeded to offer her to Paul as a wedding gift.
Oh.
Yeah. Carla started the rape before Paul had his turn, and he penetrated her vaginally and anally.
Ugh.
This continued, and she stopped breathing during the one rape, so Carla called 911, but then called back to cancel the call.
Oh.
Yeah. Jane Doe was invited one other time, and after being pressured to have sex with Paul, she was upset and left. His first victim is Tammy Homolka, who is 15 years old, and she was the youngest sister of Carla.
Yes, I do know this story.
Yes.
Yep.
So Paul's obsession with the younger sister was greatly helped by Carla, because she would let him she would help him peep into her room by breaking the blinds, and then he proceeded to masturbate in her room while she slept.
Ugh.
Carla then laced spaghetti sauce with Valium in order to allow Paul to rape Tammy while Carla would watch.
So disgusting.
It's
Who's more fucked up in that, Carla or Paul?
Honestly, in this specific scenario, I would say Carla.
I would too. Yeah.
And like, she's just horrible. Like, she should never have been allowed to go.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, sorry. But this is a very old case. So December 23rd, 1990, Tammy was given rum and eggnog, which was laced with sleeping pills. After she lost consciousness, Carla placed a halothane-soaked cloth over her nose and her mouth. So it's like an anesthetic. They filmed the gift of Tammy's virginity to Paul in the basement of Tammy and Carla's parents' house.
Oh, God.
Paul was very disappointed that he didn't get Carla's virginity.
He didn't?
So, he didn't get Carla's virginity.
Carla's. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
He got Tammy's, didn't get Carla's, so he was
Right.
upset about that. So he wanted someone's virginity.
Right. I remember that.
So here you go. Here's my 15-year-old sister.
Ugh, disgusting.
Tammy began to vomit, and this prompted Carla and Paul to call 911 as they couldn't revive her. The two of them had dressed her before the call, and Tammy was pronounced dead at the hospital.
God.
So the coroner believed the story from the two and pronounced accidental choking as the cause of death, because Paul and Carla had cleaned up any evidence they could show what had really happened. Although there was a chemical burn on Tammy's face, and the two of them were doing laundry and cleaning in the middle of the night, but I guess that didn't raise any red flags.
Yeah, because I often do laundry in the middle of the night after someone dies at my house.
Exactly. And like there's a chemical burn on this person's face, but like I guess they just accidentally choked.
You know, whatevs.
Yeah, like what in the world? Oh, he sounds so cute.
Yes, can you hear him talking?
Yeah. Okay. So the next victim was Leslie Mahaffey. I'm sorry if I'm not saying these names correctly. She was 14 years old. And this was an opportunity that dropped into Paul's lap. So Leslie had missed curfew after attending a funeral and was locked out, and she was looking for a place to stay. And Paul was driving through Burlington and saw her.
Oh, didn't her mom purposely lock her out because she missed curfew?
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I remember thinking, like, how do you move on with that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, because she locked the door because she missed curfew. So she's like, yeah, no. All right. So after a short chat of Paul wanting to break into a house and Leslie asking for cigarettes, Paul blindfolded her, stuffed her in the car, and then drove to their new rental house in Port Dalhousie.
Ugh.
After informing Carla of the new playmate, the two videotaped themselves torturing and sexually abusing Mahaffey. Paul stated that the victim was doing a good job and that the next 2 hours will determine what he will do to her.
Ugh.
The tape at the trial showed that while Paul was sodomizing Leslie, her blindfold began to slip off as she was crying out in pain and wanting him to stop. The Crown felt as though that may have sealed her fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
the
you imagine having to be like in that court and seeing that videotape?
No, I could not even imagine, and I would not want to like ever see that happen, like to a poor little girl.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. The following day, Paul claimed that Carla fed her a lethal dose of Halcyon, which is a tranquilizer. Carla claimed that Bernardo strangled Leslie, but either way, her body ended up in the basement. So it was kind of like, well, she did this, well, he did that, but...
Yeah.
So after having a visit from the Mocha family, the two proceeded to dispose of the evidence. The plan concocted by the two was to cut up the body and encase the pieces in cement. Paul bought 12 bags of cement. Idiot kept the receipts, thankfully for the victims, as it was important for the trial.
Wow.
My husband wrote that in. After using a circular saw to cut up the body, the two made numerous trips to Lake Gibson, which is 18 kilometers from Port Dalhousie. One block weighed around 200 pounds, and the two could not get it to the lake in order to sink it into deep enough water.
Morons.
Yeah, they're complete idiots. A father and son discovered the block near the shore on June 29th, 1991. Leslie's orthodontic appliance proved definitive in identifying her. So the final victim is Kristen French, who is 15 years old.
Oh.
And she was spotted by the couple as Kristen was walking home. The two had spotted her. They pulled into a parking lot ahead of her. And while Carla pulled the map out to ask for help, Paul attacked Kristen from behind, forcing her into the front of their car. Carla then proceeded to hold her down by her hair from the back seat. Yeah. Since Kristen took the same route home every day and had to be home to take care of the dog, it didn't take long for her parents to be concerned and call the police. Witnesses and the discovery of one shoe at the scene allowed the police to conclude that they had an abduction on their hands. But they obviously weren't really aware of the severity of it. Over the 3 days of Easter weekend, Paul and Carla videotaped themselves as they tortured, raped, and sodomized poor Kristen.
Yeah.
They would force her to drink large amounts of alcohol and then be submissive to Paul. On April 18th, Paul was spotted by Carrie Patridge, previously stalked before. Her report was mishandled by the Niagara Regional Police, and it's felt that led to them not being able to find Kristen quickly enough.
Oh, jeez.
So basically, they just didn't handle the information in a timely manner. So Kristen was unfortunately murdered the following day before Paul and Carla went to Easter dinner with the Homokas.
Yeah.
Carla stated that Paul had strangled Kristen, and Paul said that Carla beat her up with a rubber mallet for trying to escape before being strangled with a noose.
Wow.
Kristen's body was then found in a ditch close to the cemetery that Leslie Mahaffey was buried in. And Kristen's body had been washed and all of her hair had been cut off. And they wanted to do that to try and impede her identification, essentially.
Yeah.
If you wanted to insert a joke right now, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. This one's just a joke, like a sentence, but every time I hear a mean joke about being Canadian, I go to the hospital and get my feelings checked for free.
Yeah, we do.
Should I just do the last one right now too?
No, wait till the end. Okay, I'm gonna keep going because she's quiet.
Okay.
Other notable attacks by the couple. There was a girl who was referred to as January Girl. She was a girl that was abducted, raped, and released on a deserted road by Lake Gibson. April 6th, 1991, they sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl as she was warming up for her rowing team. She was distracted by the blonde woman and pulled into the bushes to be assaulted. So Sydney Kirshen was this 21-year-old girl, and she was able to make it to her boyfriend's house. Her boyfriend then proceeded to chase and identify the gold Nissan car. The police then went to Paul's house, but did not pursue the matter any further. So they tracked this car back to Paul Bernardo's house, but then did nothing about it.
Oh my gosh. There's so many chances that they had to catch him.
I know. They just did not handle it well. Another girl was Terry Anderson. She was 14, and this was on November 30th, 1991. She vanished. So young, it's terrible. She vanished 3 blocks from where Kristen French was abducted. They found her body in the water at Port Dalhousie. The coroner ruled it accidental drowning from drinking beer and taking LSD, which is oddly similar to the other murders caused by Paul and Carla. So there was a newspaper article about a rape in Hawaii, which was during Paul and Carla's honeymoon, and it was basically the same MO.
Gosh,
but
they can't even stop on vacation.
No, but nothing came of it though. It was just kind of dismissed.
Yeah.
June 19th, 1990 was Elizabeth Bain. This guy was her boyfriend. His name was Robert Beltovic. And at the time, he was convicted of her murder. But after some appeals and some retrials, the Crown Attorney advised the court that he would be calling no evidence and asked the jury to find Baltovic not guilty of second-degree murder.
Okay.
And so these are basically all people that they think were actually like Paul and Carla's victims. In 2006, Paul confessed to an assault in 1987 that Anthony Hannemeyer had been convicted of and served the sentence for. And in June 25th, 2008, the Court of Appeal of Ontario overturned that conviction and exonerated Hannemeyer.
But she had already served time for it.
Yes, he had.
Oh, jeez.
The Toronto Star reported that Bernardo admitted to having sexually assaulted another 10 women before 1986, which was a year before the police thought that he began.
Gotcha.
It was also believed that he had a string of rapes in Amherst, New York, and the drowning death of Terry Anderson in St. Catharines. He never acknowledged this, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was reported that his lawyer, Anthony G. Bryant, forwarded this information to legal authorities the previous November.
Oh.
So now this is his trial and incarceration.
Okay.
The trial took place in 1995. This was a very controversial trial. Carla was actually able to get a plea bargain deal with the Crown.
Okay.
She received a 12-year sentence for manslaughter for testifying against Paul Bernardo.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh my gosh.
However, it was learned that Carla's lawyer withheld the tapes of the rapes, which would have negated any leverage for the plea bargain for Carla.
So, because of that, do they get to take back the plea agreement?
No, they can't.
Oh.
Yeah, because she already agreed to it and they already agreed to the terms, so she got away with it.
Oh my god.
If her lawyer had have provided those tapes, she would not have gotten the plea bargain because it showed equal guilt between the two parties.
Yeah. I feel like they should have written a clause in there, like, unless you're keeping or lying to us, and then everything's null and void, you know?
Well, I mean, you don't usually expect a lawyer to withhold information like that, right? Because he did that, he was charged with obstruction of justice.
Good.
Yeah, he was acquitted of those.
No.
I know, but he also faced like a disciplinary hearing from the Law Society. But I mean, you would think that he would lose his license for that shit. Like,
yeah, you'd think. I mean, I'm sure his reputation was tarnished, but
yeah. Paul claimed that Carla was actually the killer and that the deaths were accidental, which makes so much sense.
Right.
Ugh.
Oh, I accidentally strangled her to death.
I know. I mean, she was the one that also like provided a lot of the drugs, though, right? So
yeah.
During Carla's interrogation, she said that Paul bragged to have raped as many as 30 women. Wow. And that was double the amount that the police suspected.
Wow.
Yeah. Even though Paul was kept in segregation during his sentences, few incidents occurred. So like he was punched in the face while he was returning from the shower, and 5 convicts tried to storm the area that he was in, and a riot squad was needed to disperse the group.
Nice. Gotta love a little bit of vigilante justice.
Exactly. In 2006, Paul gave an interview suggesting he reformed and he would like a good parole candidate. And that he would be a good parole candidate. He was not eligible for release until 2010, and he is still serving his sentence in an 8x4 cell 23 hours a day.
Good.
Carla, however, served her sentence and was released on July 4th, 2005, and she has very limited privacy due to her infamy. But she is out and about. I believe from what I read last, she has children and she's married.
Oh my God, who would marry that?
Yeah. So anyways, that is my story.
That is creepy.
I feel like I butchered that, but
No,
here
you
we
did
are.
great. Are you ready for my last Canadian joke?
Yes, please.
Why did the Canadian cross the road?
Oh, I don't know.
To say sorry to the other
Yeah.
side.
I would.
You know, I don't know. I hear all this bullshit about how Canadians are supposed to be so polite. But when I went to Toronto, y'all were
Oh.
mean.
I was literally about to say, unless you're in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
They're just very hippity dippity.
They were mean. They did not like Americans.
No. I don't know. Like, I know some people from Toronto and they're very nice, but you do get they have to be a little bit more brash, right?
Yeah, I guess it's like comparing New York City. You know,
Yeah,
New Yorkers
exactly.
are much more aggressive than the rest of the country.
Oh, yeah. Like, we saw a guy whip out a gun at a taxi driver, like, just kind of like pulled his shirt up and revealed his gun at the taxi driver because he was pissed at him, like, in New York City.
Geez.
So it's like, yeah. But all right, well, that was our episode. I'm sorry it was so.
Our Canadian episode.
Yeah. Thank you again, Robin, for the suggestion.
Yeah.
And if you guys ever want to make some suggestions, you can go to our website. It's histories and mysteries podcast.godaddysite.com. It's also on our Instagram link tree, so you can find the link there for it.
Yay.
And then you can send us your suggestions. And we have some really fun stuff coming up that we can't really share yet, but
I'm so excited.
we have some stuff in the
paranormal
works.
stuff.
Yeah, it's super exciting. So
Yeah.
just stay tuned because we're really, really excited about it. And we're like so grateful for this opportunity. So we hope that it works out really well.
Yeah.
We're excited for it. So we hope you are too.
Yeah, so we're on Instagram and Facebook, and we are Histories and Mysteries. What are we? Histories and Mysteries. Just that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Histories and Mysteries. Like, I can't remember if there's a podcast on the end of that. But there's not. Just
Nope.
Histories and Mysteries.
Histories and Mysteries, Ashley. Just butchered
Histories and Mysteries. And if you want to email us, you can email us too at historiesandmysteries515@gmail.com. But if you go to our website, you could also just fill out the contact sheet and we get those right through email as well.
Yeah, and I
So-
posted some of those on our Instagram.
Yay.
I obviously blocked out people's like last names and stuff, but just kind of how it comes through from the contact form to our email. It's super easy.
Awesome. I'm dropping things. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to bringing you 2 new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.